Hello again, everyone, and welcome to American Idioms Part 12. This is the 12th video in my American Idiom series, and like the others, I'll present 5 idioms to you, numbered 56 to 60. But first, I'll give you the chance to guess their meanings. Then I'll explain each of their meanings to you and provide additional examples to help you understand them better. So, are you ready? Okay, here we go. Number 56. And the example is, my cousin got into a lot of trouble when he was in high school. But when he went to university, he got his act together and did quite well. Can you guess the meaning? Did you guess B, to improve one's poor behavior or to get organized? If you did, that's what to get one's act together means. In our example, it discusses the person's cousin, how they were in a lot of trouble when they were in high school, but then he got his act together. He was able to get organized and improve his behavior. Kind of both things here, right? And that's what it means to get your things together, as we say. Here's another example for you. After a very shaky and turbulent start, the new administration got its act together and was able to handle many of the current problems in the city. We have the same thing here. The beginning of the new administration's, let's say, term in office, they had a hard time. It was shaky, it was turbulent, right? But then they got their act together. They got organized, right? Their behavior improved, all right? And that's what to get one's act together means. All right, here's number 57. And the example is, the government made many promises, including taking care of people from cradle to grave with their healthcare plans. Can you guess the meaning? The answer here is C, something spanning a human's lifetime. That's what from cradle to grave means. And in our example, you can see how this means that the government would take care of a person from cradle, means when they were born, when they were in a cradle. Babies sleep in a cradle, to grave, when they die. So that's spanning a human's lifetime. That's what it means, and it's used a lot. Here's another example. My aunt loved her hometown and lived there from cradle to grave. We have the same idea here, but this time we're talking about the person's aunt who loved her hometown so much that she stayed there her whole life. So we can say she lived there from cradle to grave. That's what from cradle to grave means. All right, here's number 58. And the example is, she warned us about how difficult it would be to finish the project on time, but her warning fell on deaf ears, and we missed the deadline by 2 days. Can you guess the meaning? If you guessed C, to disregard or ignore something, you are correct, and that's what happened in our example. The people doing the project ignored the woman who had warned them about finishing the project on time. It was going to be difficult. So it fell on deaf ears. They ignored her warning. All right? And if something falls on deaf ears, they ignore it or disregard it. Here's another example. The plea for leniency made by the defense attorney fell on deaf ears by the judge who sentenced the guilty person to the maximum punishment. In this case, the defense attorney was trying to get their client let's say, an easier sentence, maybe not as harsh as the maximum punishment here, but the judge ignored the plea. and sentenced the person to the maximum punishment for the crime. So the judge ignored the plea. Okay, it fell on deaf ears. All right, here's number 59. And the example is, Mike and Tim are joined at the hip. They are rarely apart. Can you guess the meaning? If you guessed C, two people or things that are linked or are inseparable, then you are correct. And that's what they're talking about with Mike and Tim here. They could be brothers or good friends, but since they're rarely apart, you can say that they're inseparable. They're linked in some way. That's what we say. They're joined at the hip. Here's another example. Climate change and renewable energy are usually joined at the hip when people are discussing either one of them. In our example, we're talking about climate change and renewable energy, which most of the time when people talk about them, well, either one of them, they mention the other one. So for example, climate change and then let's say solar energy, renewable energy, right? Or renewable energy because climate change. So they're usually joined together or they're linked in some way. And here is the final idiom, number 60. And the example is, I jumped the gun when I bought my new car because now it's on sale, and I could have saved a lot of money if I had waited. Can you guess the meaning? If you guessed A, to start or do something too soon, then you are correct. And in our example, the person bought the car too fast. Maybe if he had waited, he would have saved money because it was on sale, right? So to do something too soon, like buying something too soon in this case, means to jump the gun. Here's another example. My aunt jumped the gun and made a large investment in that company before she researched it thoroughly, and she lost a lot of money. So in this example, the person's aunt invested too quick. Well, she invested before she actually did the research on the company. She jumped the gun, and because of this, she lost a lot of money on this investment. Got it? That's all for this video. There will be more idiom videos coming. Thanks again for subscribing, and please share this if you get a chance. And remember what I always say, keep practicing! See you next time.